It was October 31st, 2023, one of those nights where the air feels like it's holding its breath. I just finished running a community Halloween event. I work as a youth coordinator, so holidays usually mean long hours, messy cleanups, and sugar-fueled chaos. By the time we packed up, my body felt like it had been drained of energy. I was ready to collapse on the couch with cold pizza when my little sister, Samantha, called. "Can you take me and Jaden trick-or-treating?" she asked, trying to sound casual but clearly hopeful. Our parents were exhausted, and Jaden's dad was working late. I hesitated, then gave in. She was 15, dramatic but still just a kid, and Jaden, at 11, had more energy than both of us combined. I figured an hour or two of walking around wouldn't hurt. When I pulled up to my parents' place, Samantha came out dressed like a gothic witch, black dress, pale makeup, dark lipstick, and Jaden looked awesome as Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat, with glowing blue gloves and a plastic mask. I teased them a bit, they rolled their eyes, and we set off for one of the bigger neighborhoods nearby, the kind with full-size candy bars and over-the-top decorations. At first, it was perfect. Kids ran between houses, the air smelled like smoke from backyard fire pits, and parents laughed under porch lights. For a while, I even forgot how tired I was. But the deeper we went into the neighborhood, the quieter it got. Fewer lights. Fewer people. The laughter faded into distant echoes. That's when I saw her. Across the street, in the yard of a dark house with no decorations, stood a tall figure. Cloaked. Motionless. The porch light was off, but the faint glow of the street lamp caught on something reflective near her face. A mask, maybe. I told the kids to stay close. Samantha noticed her too. "That's creepy," she muttered. Jaden laughed it off, thinking it was a prank. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was off. The way she stood, completely still, didn't feel like a person joking around. For context, I carry legally, a small firearm I keep in my backpack. I've never had to use it, but it gives me peace of mind. I didn't reach for it, but I stayed alert as we turned back toward the car. That's when I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate. Behind us. When I turned, the figure was closer now, walking under the dull orange glow of the streetlight. She wasn't wearing a costume I recognized, black tactical-style clothing, boots, gloves, and a hood pulled low. Her mask was smooth and featureless, like a stretched fabric with no eyes or mouth. Just a blank face. "Keep walking," I whispered. The kids didn't argue. The footsteps matched our pace, not faster, not slower. Just constant. When we finally reached the street where my car was parked, the sound stopped. I almost thought we'd imagined it. Then came the scrape of boots, running this time. I spun around. The woman froze just at the edge of the light. "Why are you following us?" I called out, my voice shaking despite my effort to sound steady. She didn't answer. Then she tilted her head slowly, like she was studying me. Her voice came out flat, almost robotic. "Relax. I'm law enforcement. You fit the description of someone we're looking for." Something about the tone, too calm, too empty, made my stomach twist. "What description?" I asked. "Why are you dressed like that?" "Nothing. Just silence." Samantha whispered, "Let's go." I backed toward the car, keeping my eyes on the woman until we were inside. When I looked again, she was gone. The drive home was dead quiet. The heater was on, but the car felt cold. Samantha stared out the window, gripping her candy bag like a shield. Jaden tried to act unfazed, but his hands wouldn't stop fidgeting. Every few blocks, I checked the mirror. No headlights behind us. No figure. Just the empty road and the flicker of passing streetlights. At my parents' house, I walked them inside, made sure the doors were locked, and stayed for a while to calm down. But every time I passed a window, I felt it, that prickling sensation that someone was out there, watching. Eventually, I drove home. Tried to convince myself it was over. Halloween weirdness. Someone playing a prank. That thought lasted until around 2 a.m., when my phone buzzed with a new message. Unknown number. No text. Just a photo. It was my car. Parked right outside my apartment. Taken from across the lot. The timestamp said it was 5 minutes ago. I froze. The air in my apartment suddenly felt heavy. I went to the window, nothing outside but the quiet glow of the parking light. No movement. No figure. But I couldn't shake the feeling she was there. I called 911. The dispatcher was polite but dismissive, said unless someone tried to break in, there wasn't much they could do. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. Every sound, the pipes, the wind, made me flinch. The next morning, I did something stupid. I went back to that neighborhood. Daylight made it seem harmless again, deflated decorations, trampled leaves, the smell of damp grass. I found the same house, the one where she'd stood. I knocked. A middle-aged man answered, bleary-eyed, coffee in hand. I asked if he'd seen anyone on Halloween, a woman dressed in black, claiming to be law enforcement. He looked puzzled. No. I went to bed early. Haven't had any visitors. That's when it hit me. She wasn't law enforcement. She wasn't a prankster. She was hunting. That night, I checked every lock twice. Curtains drawn. Light on in the hallway. I tried to watch a movie, distract myself, but halfway through my phone buzzed again. Same number. New photo. This time, it wasn't my car. It was my apartment door, taken from right outside the peephole. I grabbed my pistol and crept toward the door, heart pounding so hard I thought it might give me away. I peered through the peephole. Nothing. Just an empty hallway. Police came this time, checked the area, took my statement. They were kind but honest, said without an identity, there wasn't much they could do. One of them said quietly, sometimes people like that just want to scare you. They want control. But this didn't feel like control. It felt like a message. She knew where I lived. She wanted me to know she could reach me, any time she wanted. For weeks, I jumped at every noise. Installed a door camera. It caught nothing unusual, just neighbors, deliveries, and once, a shadow moving across the far end of the lot around 3 a.m. The shape looked like a person wearing a hood. Then, suddenly, the messages stopped. No calls. No photos. Just silence. I tried to move on. Therapy helped. Sleep came back. But every now and then, when I leave early for work, I still feel it, that prickle on the back of my neck, like eyes following me from somewhere I can't see. And every Halloween since, I stay home. Doors locked. Curtains closed. Lights on. Because somewhere out there, she might still be watching. So if you ever see someone standing perfectly still in the dark on Halloween night, don't assume it's a costume. Some masks aren't meant to come off. This happened on Halloween night, 2017, a night I still can't forget. What was supposed to be a fun family getaway turned into the kind of memory that keeps me awake every October. My parents wanted to do something different that year instead of the usual trick-or-treating. They booked a weekend at this small family resort about an hour from home, 10 or so cabins scattered around a quiet lake, surrounded by dense woods. Once the sun went down, the trees felt like solid walls of black. At first, everything seemed perfect. The air smelled like pine and campfire smoke. Kids were running around in costumes before dark. The resort had planned a weekend-long Halloween celebration, games, pumpkin carving, and a haunted hayride that night. I was 12 at the time, and honestly, I thought it all sounded amazing. While my parents unpacked, I went exploring and met a kid about my age, Ryan. Lanky, loud, dressed as a skeleton. He said his family was in the cabin next to ours, and within minutes we were trading candy and daring each other to play the carnival games near the lodge. As the sun went down, the air turned sharp and cold. Strings of orange lights flickered through the trees, and the laughter of kids echoed around the lake. I remember thinking it felt like something out of a Halloween movie. Around 7, everyone gathered near the barn for the hayride. The wagon was old and creaky, hitched to a rumbling tractor that sounded like it was held together by luck. The driver wore a straw hat and a burlap mask, and the staff, mostly teens in fake blood, hid in the woods to jump out at us. At first, it was all laughs and screams. The torches lit the path, the fog machines hissed, and the tractor rolled deeper into the woods. But about halfway through, something changed. The torches started to thin out, leaving long stretches of darkness between flickers. The tractor's engine sputtered, slowing to a crawl. Everyone got quiet, expecting another scare. That's when I saw him. Off to the right of the trail, just beyond the light, a man. He wasn't part of the show. I could tell instantly. No costume, no makeup, just dark clothes and a baseball cap pulled low. He stood completely still, hands in his jacket pockets, watching. At first, I thought maybe he was one of the resort workers taking a break, but he didn't move or react, even when a zombie actor jumped out from the opposite side. He just stood there, head tilted slightly, like he was studying us. I nudged Ryan and whispered, "Do you see that guy?" He squinted, then shrugged. "Probably staff," he said, though he didn't sound sure. I looked back again. He was gone. When the hayride ended, everyone laughed and talked like nothing had happened. I tried to, too, but I couldn't shake it. That stillness. The way he'd been looking right at me. Later, near the bonfire, I saw him again. Across the field, standing near the tree lean. Same jacket. Same hat. Dozens of people were between us, but his gaze, I swear it was fixed on me. "Ryan," I whispered. "He's here again." Ryan turned, and the man stepped back into the shadows. Gone again. I tried to convince myself I was imagining it. It was Halloween, after all. Maybe it was all part of the show. But by 9 o'clock, most of the families had gone back to their cabins, and the night had gone quiet. Ryan suggested we take one last walk around before heading in, just down the trail behind the cabins, he said. I didn't want to. My gut told me no. But I didn't want to look scared either, so I grabbed my flashlight and went. The trail wound behind the resort, darker than I expected. Our flashlights barely cut through the trees. We only walked a few minutes before reaching an old wooden sign that said private property. We tossed some rocks, joked about ghosts, and tried to outspook each other. Then we heard footsteps. Slow. Heavy. Coming from deeper down the trail. Ryan went quiet. Probably another kid, he whispered, but he didn't sound convinced. The steps were too measured, too deliberate. I aimed my flashlight toward the sound. "Hello?" I called out. No answer. Just silence. Then a voice. Calm. Cold. "Hey, boys." He came out of the darkness slowly, deliberately, the same man from before. The one from the hayride. He wasn't wearing a mask, but somehow the darkness still seemed to cling to him. His face was hidden beneath the brim of his hat. "What are you boys doing out here?" he asked. His tone was too calm. Like he was pretending to sound friendly. Neither of us spoke. My flashlight shook as the beam hit his boots, dark, muddy. His hands stayed buried in his jacket pockets. "You guys like candy," he said next, pulling an orange-wrapped peanut butter cup from his pocket. "I got a whole bunch of these in my cabin. Come on, I'll give you some." He took a step closer. I stepped back. Ryan didn't move, he just stared. "No thanks," I stammered. We have to go." The man smiled, but it wasn't real. It stretched too wide, too forced. "Come on," he said softly. "Don't be scared. It's Halloween." And that's when I saw it, a metallic glint inside his half-zipped jacket. A knife handle. "Run," I whispered. We bolted. Branches whipped at our faces, flashlights jerking wildly. Behind us, the man shouted, not words, just a harsh sound, followed by pounding footsteps. He was chasing us. The trail felt endless. My lungs burned. Ryan gasped beside me. I could hear his boots getting closer. Then, finally, the glow of the bonfire came into view. We burst out of the woods and ran straight toward the crowd. Adults turned, startled. I spun around, expecting to see him right behind us. But the trail was empty. A couple of adults rushed over. I could barely speak, but I told them everything, the man on the trail, the knife, the chase. Ryan backed me up word for word. Within minutes, my dad and some staff grabbed flashlights and went looking. When they came back, they said they found footprints that led to a creek and disappeared. The resort called the sheriff's department. The deputies took our statements, searched the woods, but found nothing. No break-ins. No guests matching his description. That night, my parents locked every door and window. I remember my dad sliding a chair under the handle. I lay awake for hours, trying not to listen to every creak outside. Then, sometime after 2 a.m., I heard it. 3 slow knocks on the window beside my bed. My heart stopped. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The curtain was drawn tight, but I could see the faint outline of my reflection in the glass. Another 3 knocks. Slower this time. I reached for my flashlight, turned it on, and pulled the curtain back just an inch. Nothing. Just darkness. But then I saw it, a fogged handprint, pressed against the outside of the window. I screamed. My dad came running, but by the time he looked, the print had already started to fade. The police came again. They searched the area, found nothing. By morning, the resort staff went door to door telling everyone there'd been a security issue. Multiple guests said they'd heard someone walking around outside their cabins between midnight and 2. No one saw a face. We packed up and left that afternoon. On the drive home, I stared out the window at the endless blur of trees. Every few minutes, I swore I saw movement, a shape between the trunks, watching. The police never called again. They never found the man. Ryan and I stayed in touch for a while. And every Halloween since, we both admit, we still think about that night. About what would have happened if we hadn't run. And that's why, to this day, I never go out on Halloween. Not after dark. Not near the woods. Because somewhere out there, he's still waiting. It was October 31st, Halloween night. But my street was dead quiet. No kids running around, no porch lights glowing orange, just the faint chill of wind pushing dead leaves down the empty road. I was 29, living alone in a small house at the edge of town. My girlfriend was visiting her parents that weekend, so it was just me. Honestly, I didn't mind the peace. I spent the day handing out candy to the few kids who showed up, then settled in with some old horror movies. By 10:30, I was half asleep on the couch, The Conjuring 2 flickering on the TV, a bowl of leftover candy beside me. That's when I heard it, a knock. Not loud, not frantic. Just 3 slow taps against the side door near the kitchen. I figured it was a straggler, some kid running late. So without thinking, I got up, opened the door. And no one was there. The porch light flickered weakly, showing only my driveway and the quiet street beyond. The air smelled like damp leaves. I shrugged it off, went back to the couch, and told myself it was nothing. 15 minutes later, it happened again. But this time, the sound came from the back of the house. 3 slow knocks on the sliding glass door that led to my deck. I froze. Nobody ever came to that door. I muted the TV and listened. Then came a faint rattle, someone gently testing the handle. Every hair on my neck stood up. I crept to the kitchen, careful not to make noise. From the corner of the window, I saw him, crouched by the door, wearing dark clothes, gloves, and a cracked Halloween mask pushed up on his forehead. Even through the glass, I could hear the scrape of metal. A crowbar. My stomach dropped. I backed away and whispered into my phone as I called 911. Someone's outside my house, he's trying to break in. The dispatcher's voice was calm, professional. Stay on the line, sir. Are you somewhere safe? Not yet. He's still outside. I can see him. Do not engage. Lock yourself in a room and stay quiet. Officers are on their way. I grabbed the biggest kitchen knife I had but didn't dare move. The faint sound of metal scraping turned into a dull pop, then a crack. He was prying open the basement window. I whispered to the dispatcher, he's in the basement. He's in the house. Stay calm, she said. Units are close. Lock yourself somewhere safe. I crept up the stairs, every step groaning under my weight. My heart was pounding so hard it drowned out my breathing. When I reached my bedroom, I locked the door, turned off the light, and crouched behind the bed. Below me, footsteps. Slow. Measured. He was moving through my kitchen. Not rushing, just walking. The sound of boots on tile. A faint jingle of metal. Then, a door creaked open. The basement door. The dispatcher's voice whispered in my ear, officers are less than 2 minutes out. Those 2 minutes felt like hours. Then, a sudden beam of light flashed through my blinds. Headlights. The police. The man bolted. I heard the back door slam open, heavy boots thudding across the deck, followed by shouts, officers yelling commands outside. The dispatcher came back on, he's in custody. You're safe now. But I couldn't move. I sat there shaking, gripping the knife so tight my hands hurt. 2 officers stayed behind, taking photos and collecting evidence. I watched from the couch as they dusted for prints near the back door. Every time their flashlight hit the shattered basement window, I had to look away. One of them, an older guy named Ramirez, asked if I wanted to see what they found in the suspect's bag. I didn't, but curiosity got the better of me. Inside was a crowbar, duct tape, rope, zip ties, and a small black handgun. Ramirez sighed. He's not a petty thief, he said quietly. People like this, they're looking for control. Those words stuck with me. They told me the man's name, Eric Latham, age 36. He had a record, burglary, trespassing, and something they only called unlawful restraint. He'd been out on parole for 6 months. He never said why he picked my house. They charged him with attempted home invasion and firearm possession. When the police finally left around 3 a.m., I locked every door again and sat on the edge of my bed until sunrise. But I didn't sleep. For days afterward, I couldn't stop replaying it. The sound of the crowbar. The creak of the floorboards. The knowledge that if the police had been just a few minutes later, I probably wouldn't be here. Then, about a week later, another officer came by with more information. They'd searched the man's car, an old sedan parked behind a gas station just 10 minutes from my neighborhood. In the trunk, they found a notebook. Inside were addresses. Mine was the only one circled. That detail, it changed everything. It wasn't random. He'd been watching me. They thought he chose Halloween because people were distracted, doors unlocked, lights on, candy out. Easy targets. I wasn't unlucky. I was chosen. Months went by, but the fear never left. I installed cameras, changed my locks, even bought a new deadbolt. But it didn't help the feeling that he was still out there. Even after they told me he'd gotten 20 years without parole, I'd still wake up at night, sure I'd heard the sound of the basement door creaking open again. Then, one night, about 4 months later, I got a call from an unknown number. Hello. Nothing. Just quiet breathing. Who is this? I said louder. A click. The line went dead. When I called back, it said the number was disconnected. I told myself it was a glitch, but the next morning I checked my camera footage, and froze. At exactly 2:13 a.m., the motion sensor had triggered. A tall figure had passed by the driveway, paused in front of my car, and then vanished out of frame. The police reviewed it but said it was too dark to ID anyone. Probably a trick of the light, they told me. But I didn't believe that. A year later, Halloween came around again. I didn't decorate. Didn't hand out candy. I turned off every light in the house and just sat there in the dark, waiting for the night to end. Around 11 p.m., my phone buzzed. A text. Unknown number. It was a photo. Of my house. Taken from across the street. No words. No threats. Just that image. By the time police arrived, whoever sent it was gone. The number led nowhere, a burner phone. They told me it was probably a prank. But I knew better. Because sometimes, evil doesn't stay locked away. It just waits. Every Halloween since, I keep the lights off, the blinds shut, and the deadbolt locked. Because if that night taught me anything, locks don't stop fear. They only slow it down.